This video, it's hard to make. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. So I recently had to sell some of my personal collection guitars because I needed some money for a new project. So sadly, I had to say goodbye to my Lenny Kravitz Flying V and the coolest Bob Marley Les Paul special you've ever done see. So in spite of that, I thought I would share some guitars with you guys that I regret not buying so badly. Starting with this. I've talked about it in a couple of other episodes, but I've never shown you it. This is a 355 from the year 2000. That is apparently a one-of-a-kind stop bar tailpiece with just an absolutely insane top. I mean, looking at this, you can tell it's a one-piece top. They even have the binding on the F-holes as the 355s do, the custom multiply binding up here. But for me, it's the finish over top of that one-piece flame veneer here. It just made this thing look so good because that matches so well with this tortoiseshell pickguard. And you get the golden blinged out hardware, the TP6 tailpiece to make things even more over the top. A lot of the 355s get some sort of a vibrola unit on them, so I vastly prefer this spec right here. Now, it doesn't look like we have any fancy switching baritone like the 355 Chuck Berry signature, but wait till you guys see this full body shot. Ooh. Now you can see how the lacquer has kind of yellowed and it gives it that aged vibe all on top of that. It's such a classy looking thing. And then you get to the headstock. It actually reads custom on the truss rod cover, all yellowed out up here. Yeah, unfortunately you had to deal with your typical shrinking lines around the Gibson logo and on the custom block emblem. This particular example was pretty bad in that aspect, but it had a vibe. But to make matters even worse, flip it over to the back. The back is probably even nicer than the top. Even more extra wavy flame right here. Cut down just the 3-ply binding. That's just an awesome one and an awesome finish. But zoom in onto this neck and you're gonna see something is a little bit off right there. It's a 5-piece neck. So we're talking 3 pieces maple, 2 pieces walnut. I love necks like that. Now it's not the most ridiculously flame neck that we've ever seen, but it's got some tasteful flame in there. But then as we keep going up, yep, you know me guys, it's my favorite, it's a stinger. This was such an awesome 355. It had to have been some sort of a custom order. I would definitely agree with them on that. And look at our case candy here. You guys remember this? The Les Paul collector's table. You can find those things occasionally. I think they generally sell between $500 to $1,000. It's basically just a Les Paul shaped table with a print over top of it, but they're kind of cool collector's items. And then there we go, seeing it one last time in the case. That's a beautiful guitar. So now I need to tell you guys the rest of the story. So this was for sale by the guitar broker down in Florida. And the night I saw this thing get listed, I was like, yes, I need it, but in order for me to buy it and keep it forever, I want to be about $5,000 into it. So I made him that offer, and unfortunately I got the standard, just listed this 20 minutes ago, not gonna do it. That response always makes me upset. It's like, I don't care if it's been 20 minutes or 30 days. An offer is an offer. I mean, I can understand if it's getting like watches after watches. It's like 80 watchers within an hour. That's not exactly what we were doing here. So my advice to you guys is if somebody makes an offer that's acceptable, just go ahead and take it. If there's anything I've learned in online guitar sales, if you don't accept that offer the first time, it's not going to be there again for you to come crawling back to. However, you also run into the other situation of you just decide to accept their offer and then they don't end up paying. But anyways, I understood in this case because that thing was absolutely beautiful, and for $6,500, I thought that was a very fair price for an end user. However, to my surprise, this thing sat around for about a month, and then I got a private offer from him for about $5,500. So I was like, oh yeah, I got this guy on the line now, right? Maybe he'll take my $5,000. And he was able to come down to $55,000. He just needed like the fees covered and everything. So I was at $5,150, he was at $5,500. Basically, it was reverb fees keeping us away from each other. So I think I had emailed him directly, and he's like, hey, if you want to pay by PayPal gift, I'll do it. And if you're not familiar with what PayPal gift is, I have a little article on my website about it. It is essentially the same thing as a bank wire transfer. You have no protection once you send that money. And that's great if you know and fully trust the person. I don't like sending gift payments unless I already have the guitar or it's something that I don't expect to need some sort of a return policy if everything goes bad. Like, was I okay to send my money to Craig here? Yeah, probably, but it made me pause long enough for someone else to swoop in and snag the deal. Ah, man, I'll regret this one because that is just an absolutely beautiful 355. Let's move on to the second one. I'm going to remember this guitar for years too. This is a 1972 Medallion Firebird V. So if you don't know about these things, to commemorate the Olympics, back around 1972, Gibson did two different Medallion editions. You had the Flying Vs, which are ridiculously expensive. It's because they're now associated with KK Downing of Judas Priest. And then you also had the Firebird medallions. They're just not as popular as the Flying Vs. Like these medallions, people are asking, you know, 20 to 30,000, and they generally have issues. There are very few of these in perfect condition, and the values just keep going up and up and up. I remember when I was first starting to get into guitars, these were like $10,000 to $15,000. And then you get the Firebirds. They just seem to not be loved that much. You would generally see them sell between like $4,000 and $8,000. I've never quite understood that, but it must just be the Judas Priest Association. But anyways, this thing was listed. It's just phenomenal. I've never seen one look so fantastic. It's got this great burst color. It's got a little bit of red, some brown, very nice faded out yellow. It's got the beautiful Maestro Vibrola on it. This is the first time that I realized the Medallion Firebirds also got the embossed pickup covers because it's 1972, man. This thing was like, oh yes, nice. I need this. That's personal collection museum worthy right here. I mean, the condition seemed to be all right too. It was just mainly the color of this one that fascinated me so much. And I just want to drive the point home a little bit more. This is what a lot of them look like. They have a little bit more of a darker border. It's just not quite the same. Here's another one. I mean, it's similar, but just doesn't quite have the same vibe. Here's another one with a little bit more of a darker border. But then when you switch back over to this one, it's got that more yellow tint to it in the middle. That has to be the result of sun fading. That's my best guess. And getting guitars to age a certain way is just difficult. And as a recent Firebird lover, I've actually come to appreciate these Medallion birds a little bit more because they're a true Firebird V reissue. Kind of anyways. They're a lot more high-end Firebird-esque than the later 70s Firebirds anyways, because we've got our binding and our trapezoid inlays. But this one had a relatively low number, 85. And then you look at the back, gorgeous wood grain here too. I mean, the whole condition was just right. And thankfully, no breaks, cracks, or repairs. And it appears to mostly be original. So here's the big kicker. SS Vintage in Chicago, Illinois was asking $10,500. Now you might be saying, hey, that's an absolute steal after looking at the Medallion Vs, but no, as I was telling you earlier, these are not as desirable. So seeing 10.5 was like, whoa, that's like double everything else. But it was such good condition and such a cool color variation that I was pretty confident that they would be able to find a buyer in that kind of range because the nice ones, they sell fast, and they sell for way higher prices. That's just how the guitar market is. So I was tempted to message him and be like, hey, you want this beautiful Johnny Winter Firebird custom shop? I'll drive and do the trade because I figured I'd want to be about $7,000 into it. Which, by the way, if anybody wants a pretty good deal on one of those, just message me. I've got one I've got some room on. But I didn't. I didn't message them, and I kind of regret it. Even though I know they just would have turned that down and probably said no, but maybe we could have like worked out something else of a trade because they are a shop. But sadly, and non-surprisingly, a couple of days pass and it sells. Whoever got that bird, cherish it. That is awesome. You might have had to pay a premium for it, but I'm betting you're still pretty happy with yourself. What a cool one. So the first two, it's kicking myself silly. I should have found a way to get those things. They're so beautiful. The last three I'm going to share with you, I'm not as upset about, but I am sad we couldn't have documented them. So we've got our friends over at Diablo Guitars. When he listed this thing late at night, I had to send him an email like, dude, that is fantastic. And he shot back, yeah, I thought you'd like that one. What I was really hoping was he was going to be like, yeah, I'll give you this fantastic price on it, man. But no, I knew this thing would sell instantaneously. So it's some sort of a Les Paul reissue, right? Just by looking at this. We actually bothered to read the description. It says 1993 Joe Perry Boneyard. You might just be saying, okay, yeah, it's a Boneyard. There's tons of those things out there, Trogly. Why are you getting all hot and bothered over this thing? It's because this is pre-Boneyard signature guitar. Those things didn't exist yet in a formal sense from Gibson. So this had to have been some sort of a custom order that somebody liked Mr. Perry's guitar here, and they did it up like this. Or somebody at the custom shop was feeling quite saucy one day and thought they would stir the boat up. Maybe it was an early prototype. Who knows? We do not know the full story. But the fact that this is technically within the prehistoric era and it's a Joe Perry Boneyard, And on top of that, it looks like this neck has some pretty significant figuring to it on top of it. And to make matters even better, of course, it's from the Custom Shop Edition era. So that means there's probably more of these things out there, because that usually signifies like a limited run of some sort, or the dealer catalog guitars. Everything looks like it checks out in here. Now, you might be confused. HCSB in the neck pickup cavity, that stands for Heritage Cherry Sunburst. That's not what that is. Sometimes you find mixed matches. Occasionally they would just take one off the line and finish it up a little bit differently. You see that sometimes in the Norland era. So if you see Ebony stamped in your Norland Les Paul Custom and it's Cherry Sunburst, doesn't necessarily mean it was a refinish. But looking over this guitar again and knowing 1993, I was curious, is this technically a Prehistoric? Or is it Custom Shop? Because the Custom Shop opens in late 1993, but the stamp in here makes me believe this is most likely a Prehistoric reissue, because that looks like it says 1992 of August 4th. And it actually has LPR in here, so we know it's not like some sort of a Les Paul classic, or else it would say something like that in here. So yeah, 1993 Boneyard. Man, I mean, now that I've pieced 2 and 2 together, that this is technically even a Prehistoric, that was nice. Such a cool guitar. Whoever got it, cherish that thing, because it is fantastic. His price at $72, that is right on the mark. I think that one could probably even sell for maybe just a little bit more than that. But it looks like that one must have sold on his shop, or maybe he kept it back for his own personal collection. Who knows? Here's another one that Parker was selling around the same time. It's one of those Gem Series BB King Lucille's. Man, I would love a complete set of these. They made very few of each color, and they're so exotic. Like, there's even a lime green one out there. Like, I'm most partial to like the blues and the purples, but an exotic lime green Lucille, yeah, you can bet your butt I'll review that one day. But this time we get the Veritone switch. I mean, you still got the TP6 tailpiece, the cool pick guard, just a more vibrant color. But what makes the Gem Series even cooler is this is a Gibson that doesn't even say Gibson on the headstock. It says BB King. But then look at our serial number, BBK0044. I think some sources say they made about 25 of each color. I'm not sure how many really are out there. But as far as exotic colored Lucille's go, it's already gone, 7,000. And lastly here, I'm not going to say I regret not buying this, but it was cool to see this thing show up. It was serial number 1 of the Mike Ness Signature Les Paul Deluxe. So we reviewed one of these on the channel. I had one. I thought it was actually pretty darn good. $9,000 for what it is did seem a little bit expensive. And as far as the used market is concerned, it seems people relatively agreed with that. And you got some people asking a little bit less than retail. You've got people asking $2,000 more than retail. Where's the truth lie? You know, somewhere in between. But serial number 1 actually showed up on Reverb. Now, I think when it was first listed, it was like 12 or 14,000 or something. I had made an offer that wasn't accepted, but he slowly kept coming down and down in price. Then I think he had messaged me privately about it, and I told him I was more than happy to pay retail, because I think he was like driving by and he wanted cash or something. So I told him, yeah, $9,000. If you want $9,000, that's retail, I'll give you that. But he was hoping to get a little bit more than that, and I can't say I blame him. I probably just would have bought this one for resale anyways. But it was very cool to see number 1 show up, because a lot of times number 1 does not show up. Sometimes it goes to an artist, although generally they just get prototypes and number 1 actually does go somewhere. And then that also brings up the fun topic of, does number 1 even matter? Is the guitar worth a premium just because it happens to say 1 on it? If you're a big fan of the artist, or you understand the collector mentality, yes. As long as it's the absolute first one, maybe. The longer I've been around guitars, the less that particularly means to me, because now I want the prototype. Who cares about number 1? But it is sweet, and most people would agree that they should sell for a slight premium. One guitar I'm very happy that I did find, number-related wise, is my 1979 first run Adam Jones. I've got it posted for sale very briefly. I mean, I only need to sell like maybe 1 or 2 more guitars to fund my next project here. And this is the one I'm hoping nobody actually buys. I mean, there's a lot of guys heckling me about my $25,000 price tag, but these have sold for that much before. The number is just an incentive. I'm not charging a crazy premium because of it, but it's number 19. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, why do I care about number 19? It's so far into the run. How does that matter at all? Wouldn't you want 7 for Tempest or something? No. Number 19 is the coolest because of this. This is a 1979 reissue. Adam Jones is synonymous with 1979. They put it on the case, for crying out loud. The guitar copied his 1979 serial number, and they made 79 of these age signs in the first run. This one is 1979 better because it says 1979, written by Adam Jones himself. So if you're a big AJ fan, you know that's cool. I'll miss that guitar when somebody inevitably buys it. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed these sad sob story tales of guitars that got away for some truly, truly fine pieces. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.